By the end of this video, you'll know how to complete an inception in the shortest time possible while still providing a valuable outcome. This video will be from the point of view of a facilitator, which is usually a scrum master or an agile coach for an inception. We have a lot to cover today, and I want to keep this video as short as possible, so let's dive in. First, an inception is an activity done at the start of a project where we gather everyone involved, all the stakeholders involved, and set a common direction and a working style for the ongoing work of a project. An inception usually lasts 2 weeks, 3 weeks, but in this video, I'm going to show you how to do it in 1 week, a single week. At the end of inception, we should have all the required information to start working on the MVP, the minimum valuable product, which is something we put to the market to get feedback from customers and learn whether it's worthwhile to continue building the product. Let's start with Monday morning, where the team introduces the inception, the expected outcome of inception, and kicks off the inception. The first workshop is the product vision workshop, where the team defines the core business value and creates a clear and concise message to the product user. For this exercise, I like using Geoffrey Moore's vision of a product. You start with two, the final client, then whose problem that needs to be solved. The name of a product is a product category that key benefits, reason to buy it, different from competition, alternatives, our product, key difference. The way you facilitate this activity is really simple. You write the structure on a whiteboard and you tell the team to fill in the blanks. They can input how many words they want, how many phrases they want, and then once everyone is done, we can refine all the options that we have on the board and finalize a statement, a true product vision together. The next activity is done on Monday afternoon, where we define what the product is, isn't, does, doesn't. Sometimes it's easier to really describe and understand the product when defining what the product isn't. So you take a whiteboard, you break it down into 4 sections: is, isn't, does, doesn't, and you take the post-it notes and you tell the team to write down post-it notes on all these sections on the whiteboard, and you regroup everything together and you remove all the things that are not meaningful at the end, or that people don't agree with, and you keep all the things that people agree with, and you have the things that are in the product that the product does and the product shouldn't be doing, and what the product is not. The next activity is done on Tuesday morning, Tuesday already, where we define the personas. A persona is a user in the system. We want to really understand the role of a user, activities that the user needs to perform in the system with the product, the needs of a user, the wants of a user. We want to understand that. So you take the template that you see on the screen right now, you break down the big group in the workshop into smaller groups, and you tell each group to use this template to define a persona. And once done, they can present that to the rest of the people in the room, and you repeat the process until all the personas have been defined. The next activity is done on Tuesday afternoon, where we discover the features. We already have the product vision, what we want to build, this big goal, and we have the personas now. So you take a whiteboard and you write down all the personas in rows on the whiteboard. And we want to define features now for each persona, and try to define the features in the order of priority. So the most important feature first, and then you continue with the least important. But anyone can input all post-it notes on the board, any features, and then we can regroup and then we can reprioritize together once everyone has inputted all the things on the whiteboard. The goal here is to really define each feature that a persona would want to use. How do we make the user, the persona, reach their goal, their needs, their wants with the application? This is a question you need to ask. The next activity is Wednesday morning, where we define the user journeys, the list of steps that the user needs to follow in order to reach their goal. So we already have the personas. Put all the personas on a whiteboard in rows, each one after the other, and then we need to define the steps, the starting point in your software, in your application, with your product, the starting point of activity, the first thing that the user needs to do in the application, and then you continue the second thing, the third thing, the fourth thing, and it goes on until the user, the persona, reaches their goal. The next activity, which is done on Wednesday afternoon, is displaying the features in journeys. At this point, we have 2 things. We have a list of features that we built, things that we believe the personas would want, and we have the steps but the user needs to follow in order to reach their goal. We need to link these two things together. We need to put all the features in these steps, or these steps in the features. At this point, we should see that some features are not in Journey, so we need to add them. Or the Journey, some steps that your user need to take. There's no features linked to that, so we need to work with these two things. As a team, the whole team needs to participate in that, so we build the final journey with all the features that the user needs to follow in order to reach their goal. Next, on Thursday morning, we need to sequence the features. We already have a personas, and for each personas, we know exactly the steps they need to take in the application to reach their goal. We have the features. Now we need to sequence the features and build this MVP and the product increments. Remember, the MVP, we have an assumption. We believe that the user wants to use this application in this certain way to reach this certain goal. This is an assumption. We need to test this. And what's the minimum thing that we need to do, the minimum valuable product that we can put to the market to test this assumption and to see if it's worth it to keep on building the product. So we take all the features, block down all the features on a whiteboard, we post-it notes, and together we build this MVP. What features need to be in this MVP, the minimum in order to test this assumption, the product vision that we have. And then once you have an MVP, what's the next thing that we can do? What's the next increment in the next sprint that we can do? You plot it down using the post-it, you stick it on the whiteboard, and you keep going until you have maybe 3, 4, 5 product increments after that. Next, we build the MVP canvas. We already know what features needs to be in the MVP and all the other product increments. We have all the information. We just need to test this assumption. So put that in the canvas that you see on the screen. You can use this template and work together. Everyone in the workshop can work together to fill in this canvas, by starting with early customers. Not your ultimate larger audience, but who you will contact, design for, and sell to first. Unmet need. Why do customers need your product? What problem does it solve? Value proposition. Why will customers prefer your product over competing products? What's the difference between your product? What's the high value that the product brings? Our solution. What is your solution? How does this solve a customer's problem? Unfair advantage. How is your company unlikely well suited to win? Early metrics. What will you measure to determine if your early prototyping efforts are successful? How will we know if the assumption that we add is good or not, if the MVP is a success or a failure? The key assumptions. What high-risk assumptions will you be testing as you build your MVP? Extremely important. What we are doing with this MVP is an experiment. We are testing and ensuring that the assumption that we had is indeed true or false. That's what Agile is all about. And that's it, your inception in 1 week. You should have all the information now to start building your MVP. Start writing the user stories. And if you're using Scrum, start your sprint. Do your sprint planning and start the actual development so you can put this MVP as fast and as early as possible to the market to get feedback. Which brings me to my next point. If you want more tips, insights on Agile, Scrum, personal growth, click on the video that stands out the most on the screen right now, and I'll see you in a few seconds.